Jesus, everything I count as loss to know you and be known as yours, to share with you in your suffering, to be with you in glory. Jesus, everything I count as loss to know you and be known as yours, to share with you in your suffering, to be with you in glory. Come and be my exceedingly great reward. You're the treasure that I would give my whole life for. What would it profit me to gain the world but lose my soul? I know my life is not my own.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of BTS Behind the Song, where we interview songwriters of how they write the song. And today we have Josh Yeoh again, and he's here to talk about his song Reward. I went to check on Spotify it has almost about 140,000 listens.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Yes, I did my research. So and I believe that there were a lot of churches that have sung this song in their worship service and so on and so forth. So it's really been used in the church. So we would like to come and share with us, what is Reward all about?
So Reward, I guess, was birthed. Well, obviously I didn't plan on writing it for Singapore, but apparently Singapore has really taken a hold of this song. Which my friend Pastor Ernie was sharing last Sunday at church about how he feels it is actually a song for Singapore in this season, because Singapore is a nation of affluence. There's a lot that we have. There are a lot of rewards of being here, but there's an element of dying to yourself. There's an element of taking up the cross, which I think resonates with the church in Singapore now, because it's more than just living a comfortable life, right? It's actually discipleship. It's taking up your cross and following Jesus, which is essentially what the song is about. I think when I first wrote it, it was that passage of scripture where Jesus says, what does it profit a man to gain the world but to lose his soul? And that really gripped me. And I can probably count on one hand the number of times I heard sermons preach from that passage of scripture. But one of the most powerful ones that I heard was actually when Dr. Michael Brown shared a sermon on it, and he was talking about it's old school Michael Brown taking up the cross, following Jesus, and so that was the season that I was really focusing and meditating on that scripture, and so that became part of that chorus. But the song, the verses really they're my life verses. Philippians 3 is a big one for me. I count everything as lost for the sake of knowing Him. And so that was, I really wrote it as a response to all of that. And it was also a season where Genesis 15 was one of those verses that I was meditating on, where God speaks to Abraham and tells him that, I will be your exceeding great reward. And so that gripped me, because I think, at the end of our life, like we often were willing to sow and like to labor if we see like revival, or we see like, the salvations or whatever. But Hebrews 11 talks about how these men of faith, like they died without having seen the fruit of what they were laboring for, and it was the fruit. It wasn't the fruit of their obedience, but the obedience itself that made them successful. And I feel like that, to me, what they gained was their exceeding great reward is Him. They gained that in the whole process. And so I feel like that's why I wrote that song. It's like at the end of my life, it's not a matter of how many houses of prayer I started or how many CDs I make or any of these things, but at the end of my life has Jesus become my exceedingly great reward? you know, and my prayer is that he will be, you know, and so that's kind of what the song is about, that everything we count as loss, and, you know, that we would actually take up the cross, that what does it profit us if we gain the world but we lose our soul.
The world behind me, no turning back, no turning back. Though none go with me, still I will follow. No turning back, no turning back. My cross I'll carry till I see Jesus. No turning back, no turning back.
How do you write it? Like, was it like a tune that came into your mind, or you know, you just want, like, you know, casually on the piano?
Yeah.
What comes to you first?
A lot of my songs start as spontaneous choruses. Being in the House of Prayer for the past 10 years, like 90% of what we do is spontaneous, right? And it has to come from, in a previous interview we did, we talked about Colossians 3:16 and how, you know, it's the word of Christ dwelling richly in us. But it's when that happens and then we come into a spontaneous moment that these prophetic songs are released. You know, like not all spontaneous songs are prophetic, right? And sometimes we think just because it's spontaneous it's prophetic, but the spirit of prophecy is a testimony of Jesus. So it has to actually be based on revelation of who he is. And so I feel that like, for example, this song, you know, the Come and Be My Exceeding Great Word, like all that came spontaneously because I was in a season of meditating on that Genesis portion of Abraham and that whole passage about Jesus saying, you know, what does it profit a man to gain the world? And so it started that way, and then I had that melody, the intro, and the melody kind of lent itself to the lyric, which is everything I count as loss. Yeah. And then, of course, the bridge is familiar to us because it's public domain. But a lot of times, I think recently Hillsongs like wrote, but they used two of the lines of the song. But and I don't know whether this is true, but I heard the story of the guy who wrote it. He wrote it after his family got killed or something like this. I don't know whether that's urban legend or whether it's true, but the lyrics carry so much truth, especially the last two verses. For me, it's the whole though none go with me, I will still follow, and my cross I'll carry until I see Jesus. And it's that whole, again, it's like discipleship of, like, you know, taking up the cross, you know, like, what does it profit me to gain the world but lose my soul? Like, I will do this until I see you face to face. And that's why I kind of did that as a bridge. Yeah.
Was it like a intentional thing that, I want to use, probably try to put a hymn in attached to it, or it just came along?
I think initially when I started leading the song, like, it was, okay, I'm like the king of mashups, right? Like, whenever I lead songs, it's like we throw pieces in and out. And I think we led the song, and this kind of just came spontaneously. And I was like, oh, this is a great, because it actually complements, you know, it's a response of following Jesus until we see him face to face, which kind of ties in the rest of the song. Wow. And then initially it was just there as a add-on, but then I was like, hey, let's make it, you know, let's expand it, sing all the verses, and make it part of the song. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, many churches have sung it. You have sung it in many different countries. What are the things that you have seen this song? You know, God used this song in.
I think, well, the running joke for me has been, so I have a friend who's a minister in the Methodist church, and he was like, he was saying we are petitioning to put this in the Methodist hymnal because apparently the Methodist churches in Singapore love it. And then the Brethren churches came in recently and said, oh, we sing it too, you know. So I love that it's being sung in and not just by young people, but by like older people. And I think it's because it's Bible. We're singing the Bible, really.
And different denominations.
Exactly, yeah. Different denominations are singing it. But to me, the most precious memory or moment of this song was actually the first time I sang it outside of the House of Prayer, because I, again, wrote it when I was in the House of Prayer in Penang. The first time I sang it outside of the House of Prayer was actually when I was in the US. And I had taken my then girlfriend, now fiance, hopefully when this comes out, we'll be married by then.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Slipping it in there. But we went to see like a former mentor of mine. And one of the things we do whenever I go and visit them is we'll just sit in the living room and we'll just worship the Lord together. And so I wanted to share this song with them. And that was the first time I sang it outside of the house of prayer. And when we sang it, like just the presence of God filled the room. And I heard like someone like sobbing. Yeah, I thought it was my mentor because he's very tender-hearted. But when I turned around at the end, it wasn't. It was actually my fiance. Like she was, because I didn't know this at that point, but this is actually her life verse as well. Wow. Philippians 3, you know. And so it really moved her. And that's the moment where I was like, wow, this is more than just me writing about what matters to me, but it's resonating with people. And so that to me was one of my favorite memories of singing this song. Not in a crowd of like thousands of people, but just in a living room with a family, and the Lord meeting us there.
And your loved one
Of
being
yes.
blessed by that song.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank
your
you.
time, for sharing with us. If you have not heard the song Reward, you can go to Josh Yeoh's Spotify, search him. And if not, you can always hear it on our Amplify podcast. And once again, we'd like to thank Jerry for this lovely studio. It's Mix Music Studios. And yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you
so much.
And what would it profit me to gain the world but lose my soul? I know my life is not my own.